الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. نريد الشريف together. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ومن يتوكل على الله فهو حسبه صدق الله العظيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. All praise and blessings be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord of the universe, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send darood upon, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send His blessings upon Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the final messenger and servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every week we sit and we listen to the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the words of His beloved Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and we remind ourselves of the blessings that we have and how blessed we are to be able to come to the masjid. And the reason being is because the masjid is the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah only calls whom He loves to His masjid. But another way to look at it is we are living in a time of technology. Maybe 25, 30 years ago, the way that the world worked, it was completely different. When somebody wanted to have some kind of a form of entertainment, they would have to go somewhere. So for example, if somebody wanted to go watch a play, they would go, and when they have a night out, or if they wanted to go watch something, they would go to wherever they had to go to watch it. But the zamana has completely changed, times have changed, where all forms of entertainment, we are now in control. A person doesn't have to go anywhere to watch a movie. He can sit there in his house and he can watch everything. And in such a time, it is a time of shaitan, where shaitan is in control of everything. And if we don't get a grip of ourselves, we can very easily be sucked into this. And very easily a person, instead of coming to the masjid, he could sit on his phone and waste his time. But he has chosen to come to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah has chosen us to come here and for a few moments to worship Him, to remember Him, and to talk about Him. And this is a great blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are living in a time when people are in difficulty, people are in trouble, people have problems, there is depression, there is mental issues, and there is so much negativity. And the reason being is because of turning away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is a word which we hear of all the time, Tawakkul, and the importance of it. Today I want to go into this word and see what we can do with this word and how we can make it something, make it a quality, how we can bring that into our life. Tawakkul, if we think of the word, there are ways, and there are many different ways the ulama and the scholars from before have tried to translate this, but it is very difficult to give it just one specific definition. The one definition that we hear all the time is to have trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But it should be something which is only exclusive to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we can trust other people as well. But when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it should be just, and the ways that it has been defined in other ways, it is to, so some ulama have said that it is a way for us to be pleased with whichever decision Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made for us. Or another thing which has been mentioned is that to know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control of everything, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will do everything. So the first part of having that tawakkul is to understand that everything happens through the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we look at the commencement and the starting of insan, وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He speaks to the angel and He said, I am going to make a khalifa, I am going to bring something into the dunya. And we know how the conversation goes, and the malaika, the angels, they said that قَالُوا فِيهَا مَنْ يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا وَيَسْفِكُ الدِّمَاء, that they will cause havoc and they will cause trouble and they will blood will be spread everywhere because of them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قَالَ إِنِّي أَعْلَمُ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ, that don't speak about something which you do not know. And here we speak about ilm. Ilm is the thing which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He then tested the angels with when it came to Adam alayhi salam. وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا, that as Adam alayhi salam was taught those words, and when the angels were asked that, tell me what are these things, what are the names of these things, they were not able to give the reply because that Adam alayhi salam had been taught it. So the first part of everything is to understand the importance of ilm. That knowledge comes only from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has all of the knowledge. Everything which is going to happen, everything which has happened, and everything which will continue to happen, everything Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. And to understand that everything that Allah knows, Allah is also in control of. Allah knows about something which is going to happen before it even happens. And the quicker we understand this, and the easier we make it for ourselves to understand this, the more of a connection we'll be able to have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that tawakkul and that trust we'll be able to have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, when a person has tawakkul, he will know that my Allah is in control, and Allah will look after my affairs, and everything will be made easy. And this is when a person, he will be tested throughout his life. That is the tawakkul strong enough to bring him towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or is it one which there's always a connection with iman and tawakkul? That the stronger the tawakkul is, the higher his iman will be, and the weaker the tawakkul is, the weaker the iman will be. There's a connection that a question can be asked, that in order for a person to be classed as a Muslim, do they need to have tawakkul? What do we think? Do we need to have tawakkul in order to be a Muslim? Yes, we have to have tawakkul. وَعَلَى اللَّهِ تَوَكَّلُوا إِن كُنتُم مُسْلِمِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that it is upon having the tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are able to be Muslims. If a person wants to be a true Muslim, then he has to have that tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There was the time of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam as well. فَمَا آمَنَ لِمُوسَى إِلَّا ذُرِّيَّةٌ مِّن قَوْمِهِ عَلَى خَوْفٍ مِّن فِرْعَوْنَ وَمَلَئِهِمْ أَن يَفْتِنَهُمْ وَإِنَّ فِرْعَوْنَ لَآلٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَإِنَّهُ لَمِنَ الْمُسْرِفِينَ. So at the time of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, the situation was such that they were believers, but they were few in number, And then there was those who wanted to believe, and they did believe, but they were too scared of Fir'aun. They were scared of Fir'aun, and because of that, they kept their belief hidden. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَتَوَكَّلُوا إِن كُنتُم مُسْلِمِينَ. That to have that tawakkul and that trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that to not be scared of anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because of a person being scared and knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will look after that person, no matter what the situation, this is where the test is. This is where the tawakkul is. That it doesn't matter who is there in front of us. If we know that we have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on our side, then everything else will fall into place. And tawakkul comes in one of the main things which is causing difficulty for people today, which is rizq. Everybody is wondering, where is my next penny coming from? Where is my next pound coming from? Where is my next 100 pound coming from? How am I going to pay this bill, that bill? So this is something which we have to look at as well. Now, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say about this? One of the scholars, they mentioned about that our tawakkul and our trust in Allah should be the same as the bird. And the bird it wakes up in the morning with an empty stomach, and it comes back with a full stomach. But a lot of people have taken this in the wrong way, and they said, okay, I am going to have that tawakkul about, okay, I will not do anything, and I will think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will do everything and provide for me, so I will just sit in one place. But if we look at the example of the bird, it doesn't just sit there in its nest. It gets up and it goes and it flies out. It goes to seek its provision. So in the same way, we have to get up and we have to go and seek our provision. And we have to remember that by seeking and going out and trying to seek that provision, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make it easy for us. Because we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will provide. But the only thing is, I have that option, I have that opportunity, that choice. Where am I going to go and seek that provision? This is the question that we have. This is the options that we are going to have. Either a person, he can go and seek provision in a halal way, or he can seek it in a haram way. And this is the test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That very easily, the way that shaitan works, shaitan will put it there in front. There's easy way there to go and get some quick money, but it is from a haram method. And here we have the halal way, which it will take a bit longer, but there we'll have the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is where the trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes. A person might think, I have so many things to do, I have so much stress, that if I was to take this quick haram money, it will make everything easier. But what happens instead? Things are more difficult. Things will get even harder because of going the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us to stay away from. And this is where having faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help a person. That because of knowing that my trust is in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because of knowing that I know that my Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will look after me, this is what is going to help a person. And when it comes to tawakkul, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he explained to Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala in a very nice and easy way for him to understand. It's a very famous hadith in which Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned, Ya ghulam inni u'allimuka kalimat. That's, oh youngster, ghulam. Ghulam is mentioned here, oh youngster. So one thing that we can take from this is that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was explaining this when he was a young boy. He wasn't even mature at the time, to try and get that aqidah into him from a very young age. Today we are at a stage where we think that our kids are too young. When they get older, then we will teach them these things. But if we get it into them from a very young age, then it makes it very easy for them, and they will understand exactly what is needed from them. And what did Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said? Ihfadillah yahfadhka. That look after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What does that mean? Look after the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded you to do, to look after them. Those commands of Allah, never break them. If you never break those commands and you do everything which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has asked, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will look after you. Ihfadillaha yahfadhka. Next part, ihfadillaha. Then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned that look after the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He will come directly in front of you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be there to protect you. إِذَا سَأَلْتَ فَاسْأَلِ اللَّهِ. That whenever you ask, only ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whenever you ask, only ask from Allah. Nobody else should ever, we should never be turning to anyone except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَإِذَا اسْتَعَنْتَ فَاسْتَعِنْ بِاللَّهِ. Whenever you need to seek assistance, seek only assistance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who provides. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who can help. Nobody else can help a person. This is where our belief has to be different from those who are non-Muslim. That today, because we are going more the other way, that people think, what is the difference between me and you? You are complaining about the same things and I am complaining about the same things. You are stressed about your bills, I am stressed about my bills. Whereas we have to understand that the rizq which has been written for us, nobody else is going to get a hold of that rizq. Not one person is able to take 1 penny from the rizq which has been written from us. So instead of running and chasing after the dunya, we have to run and chase towards the one who provides the rizq. When we turn our attention to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make things so much easier for you. وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. Allah mentions in the Quran that the one who is looking for rizq, it will, because of him turning to Allah and because of him knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one providing, rizq will come to him from places that he didn't even understand, that how can it come from there? And this is the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala works. He wants to show you that, oh insan, you are not in control. Your boss is not in control. The government is not in control. Those that give you your benefits is not in control. Allah is in control. That no matter how much you go looking elsewhere, if something which has not been written for you, this is the next part of the hadith, that if all of the people were to get together and they wanted to try and cause some kind of a goodness for you, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had not written it for you, then it will not happen. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted something bad to happen for you, then that bad thing is going to happen. And all the people wanted good for you to happen, it's not going to happen. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants something good to happen, it will happen. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants something bad to happen, it will happen. But we always have to remember to put our trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what is the final part of the hadith? رُفِعَتِ الْأَقْلَامِ وَجَفَّتِ الصُّحُفِ. That the pens have been lifted and the paper has become dry. That everything has been written. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows exactly what is going to happen. And this is where we have to make sure that we understand how can I improve? How can I increase my tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The first thing that we can do to improve our tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the ulama mentioned, is the heart. The heart, everything which is inside it has to be taken out. The only thing which should be in the heart is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing else. Only Allah can be in the heart. Nothing can be so much attached that we think of a simple example. When we owe somebody something, or somebody does something good for us, our heart automatically gets attached to that person. We feel we have to repay them in some way. Somebody has done something nice for us, we feel like we have to repay them. Or even more, if we owe somebody a debt, what happens is, until we do not pay off that debt, we feel that this person, he has a hold over me. But compare that to the feeling once the debt has been paid off. It's a completely different feeling. We feel like we're on a level playing field again, and we feel the exact same way. Everything is normal. But when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we'll always be in debt. We'll always be in debt because of simple example, our body which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. Somebody comes up to you and says, I will give you £5 million for your eyes. So you're going to give it? Maybe somebody who wants the money, but majority of people will say no. Even if you give me double, I will not give you my eyes because I need these eyes. I see everything with these eyes. So this is why there is, by having that constant something which we feel we have to give back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is why the ulama mentioned that to have nothing in the heart but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's a hadith by Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam which is mentioned that whenever somebody gives you something, to try and compensate them as soon as possible. And if you're not able to compensate them, then you should make dua for them. and keep making dua for them until you feel you have done enough, that they have been compensated. But when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is not possible to compensate Allah for everything that He has given. So that is why we have to just have that connection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our hearts. So this is one thing which we can do in order to bring that tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is to try and take everything out of our heart except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second thing is to read Hasbi Allahu la ilaha illahu alayhi tawakkaltu wa huwa rabbul arshil azim. It's mentioned in a hadith that a person who is to read this 7 times in the morning and 7 times in the evening, whatever difficulty that he is facing in his life, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take that away. Hasbi Allah, that Allah is sufficient enough for me. But it's not enough just to say it. Saying it is not enough. We have to believe it as well. At the same time that we are saying it, to believe it. That not just the way is, for example, when you're learning a new language, you're learning how to say things, or you're saying something in Japanese and Chinese, you're just saying it for the sake of it, but you don't really know what it means or what it is. So it can't be the same here with the Arabic that we read as well. That we have to believe in this Hasbi Allah, that Allah is sufficient enough for me. That I only need my Allah. Hasbi Allah. Think of how strong that is. La ilaha illahu. That there is no God except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alayhi tawakkalt. It is Allah upon whom I trust. Wa huwa rabbul arshil azim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Lord of the arsh, of the big arsh. You think of the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how big it is, the great arsh. And this is the Rabb of that arsh. So to think of these things, that when we never have moments in our day when we sit and we think and we need to ponder that how is my connection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how can I improve it? And the way to improve is by sitting and thinking, how has my day gone today? What can I do to improve it? And this is one way that we have that chat and we speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and think to ourselves that Allah is in charge of everything. Allah has created everything. And Allah is in control of everything. And Allah is the one who puts me through these tests. And Allah is the same being who will take me out of these tests. So, the people that came before us, they had tests. The people that will come after us, they will have tests. But one thing that we have to remember is that we have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on our side. Allah is on our side. Allah does not want to see any person fail. Allah wants us to pass the tests. And the way to pass the test is when the time comes to trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to put our full trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not these half ways and 3/4 ways. Not even 99% is not enough. It has to be a full 100%. And the final thing which the ulama have mentioned is that whenever you need anything, make dua for it. Any small thing at all. Ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However minute you might think it is, however small you might think it is, ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And keep on asking. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gets angry. مَنْ لَمْ يَسْأَلِ اللَّهَ يَغْضَبَ عَلَيْهِ. Whoever doesn't ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah becomes angry with that person. Compare that to insan. If we keep on going to the same person again and again asking for something, he's going to get angry with us and say, go away. Stop asking me. Ask somebody else. Whereas Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the opposite. And why is my servant not asking from me? This is what we have to bring into our life. That whenever we are in a situation, remember, Allah is on my side. Allah is on my side. Only me, not all of you. All of our sides. Each and every one of us, Allah wants to see us being successful. Allah wants Allah doesn't, every single person that we know, Allah wants every single person to have Iman. Allah wants to see every single person go to Jannah. But it is the choices that we make which differentiates, which chooses where that person is going to go. So this is where we have to make sure that whenever we get into a situation next time where we see it might be a bit difficult, we see this is a test from Allah. And Allah will help inshaAllah because of us having this tawakkul in Him. And the way to improve this tawakkul is by doing these things. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to act upon these things. Ameen wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.